when I was on the train and I asked somebody for instructions, no one gave me instructions, and I said, "Have a good day." And she goes, "Oh, thank you." And I said, "You know what? It's really tiny tasks that transforms our lives." And I think the mistake people make is they don't realize that the soul is very much like a body, and that just as body needs exercise, and you can't just like start running the Olympics, you gotta do warm-ups and stretches, and then you gotta build yourself up to get to that, that right, you have to pace yourself. Same thing, there are soul exercises. And a soul exercise means that, once again, deep in me, I know that I'm a someone. We talked about this in Jerusalem. There's one. God isn't someone. God is the one. And we're some of that one. And so is that person next to me, and so every single person on the street. What little things can I do to acknowledge that truth to myself and communicate that and let them feel that about themselves? So even if we were to just, pay attention to some regular routine of a kind word, just to start there, with a kind word to somebody. And in terms of myself, some regular routine, like, in our tradition, before we eat, we acknowledge that this food comes from God. Quite frankly, when in my journey back to Judaism, that was the first thing I did. And there's not too many things I could say to someone that you would get immediate gratification from, but that does.
So is it before you eat, you say you're thankful for the food to God that you have this food and you're lucky and you're fortunate, and you're saying that changes your whole well-being?
It's actually deeper than just saying thank you, because the word Baruch doesn't mean thank you.
It's blessed.
The word Baruch means you are the source of all blessing. Meaning, what is blessing? Blessing is abundance. Every form of abundance in my life, whether it's abundance of energy or abundance of health or abundance of wealth in every way, knowing you is the source of all that. If I just eat this apple and I don't use it as an opportunity to become conscious of the great self, God, then I haven't tapped into the source of real abundance that this apple can provide me. So it's not just, thank you, God, thank you for giving me this gift. It's much more than that. It's actually turning the apple on. Until now, it's a piece of fruit, but if it becomes a catalyst for a consciousness of the oneness of God in my life, then it nurtures me in a much more profound way. The first mistake of Adam and Eve revolved around an eating issue, right?
Maybe.
And Rabbi Nachman of Breslov says that just as the downfall of man was connected to food, right, the transformation of man is through food. Because what is food all about? It's interesting, the area that we have the most blessings is over bread. The Hebrew word for bread is lechem, which is the exact same word for war.
Wow.
To fight somebody means lilchom. Lochem is a warrior. So why would in Hebrew the word for bread and the word for fighting and war be the same word? Because it's all about being the breadwinner and the competitive nature of this is mine. Like, in other words, even in this world, we call money bread. Hey man, you got some bread? Why? Right? Why is bread so much connected to? Because it's all about or even dough.
Right.
It's called dough.
Dough's money too. You're right. Never thought of that.
Because bread represents how we've taken nature and taken human ingenuity and turned it into a staple of life, right? Bread and water.
That's
right?
it.
We've been able to take something that we've created or we've been part of creating, and it's become equal to the power of water in our minds, right? So it feeds our sense of self and our sense of power. Now the question is, if we acknowledge that we're part of the one, then that bread will nurture us and empower us to do good and to love. But if we think this is my bread and I earned this bread and I'm the breadwinner of this bread and hey, don't take my bread, So it only feeds that competitive nature and that warlike nature. So food is so much part of our life. And using it as a catalyst to become more conscious of God's oneness and our oneness with each other and God is incredibly powerful. So as I mentioned, when I started my journey back to Judaism, I actually started, my first thing is I started making blessings over my food, and I immediately felt the quality of my life has shifted dramatically.